please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic?
Know why this is still a thing, but doing side lunges is the reason your glutes are having a mental breakdown. They suck as hard as you do on the streets.
Over the course of this video, you're going to see more clips like that. It was tweeted out by BadOPCode Chicken, who felt that there was a shot fired because she was looking for workout tips. As a regular attendee of the gym, I find this video very informative, and I feel it only right to share these rather silly little workouts people do. Hello everyone, welcome to This Week at X. Today we're going to start with Nick Diorio, and it's going to lead us down a rabbit hole concerning Dark Viper AU. I did a video on Monday, but I got a fair amount of flack, so I'm probably not going to do a part 2, but we're going to continue his story in this to the more recent goings on, from April the 10th to present. Nick Diorio tweeted, Dark Viper AU hired a lawyer to do in Chud Logic's channel because the commentary in Chud's video made Mr. AU feel bad. As a direct result of those actions, Dark Viper has attracted a large following of hate watchers who will make his life a living hell going forward. Lawsuits will do that. So when you see Mr. AU more trigger happy in the coming weeks in regard to DMCA censorship, don't be surprised. He's facing the scary reality that he's lost control of context in his gated community, his echo chamber. He's trying to feel more powerful now that every aspect of his online life is being torn through. I mean, let's be honest. A new clip hits my feed every day of this dude, either saying the most hypocritical stuff ever or crying like a baby. People were gonna find out this dude had the lolcow gene eventually. Carl Jobst on Twitter had retweeted Nick Diorio by saying, I have known Dark Viper AU since 2018, when we were both small streamers trying to grow. Over the years, I believed we have some common friends. I respected him, met him multiple times in person. I specifically brought my wife to a creator party because I wanted her to meet him. I valued him as a person. Recently, without notice and without warning, he banned me and removed me from all socials. This hurt me deeply. I reached out to ask why, and he never even bothered to reply and let me know what I had done. Dark Viper will spend his days arguing with random haters online, but when it comes to someone who cared about him and just wanted to know what I'd done to hurt him, he could not care less. At this point, I don't care to know what his grievance was, or is. But I do know that what he did to me was a terrible thing to do, and my opinion of him could not be lower. Reply from Keemstar, it's clear he found someone else. It is quite strange for someone who is openly quite obsessive to be so dismissive of those that were considered close in his life. Irrational Chad retweeted this by saying that Dark Viper responded to this on Reddit. I don't know many people who go to their own Reddit to add this kind of information, but he did. I would appreciate you respect my privacy on this matter. This did not happen recently, it was a month ago. If I wanted such things to be public, I would have made them so. It does not take much to lose me as a friend, but this is my decision and of no one's business but my own. Carl retweeting and promoting such a false tweet from some of the worst aspects of the online ecosystem is not surprising to me, but it is not appreciated. Speaking of that retweeted tweet, I spoke of some of the recent goings on vaguely, in a ramble that has yet to release. While I am stupidly willing to debase myself and roll around in the mud with these degenerates from time to time, a line is crossed when such things are brought into the real world. I will speak no more on these matters or engage with any of these people beyond striking any future reactions. Not a good look. The safety of myself and those I care about is paramount. I'll be honest. If you are openly striking other channels, you are a flagger. In the online ecosystem, it is not appreciated or respected. Willingly admitting that you will DMCA anyone that speaks ill of you speaks volumes of you. Your obsession to always be right and willingness to silence because you cannot debunk. Carl Jobst retweeted Irrational Chad. Dark Viper won't say the reason publicly because it is insanely petty, he knows it. I didn't quote that tweet because I agreed with it, which I don't. I quoted that tweet because it shows Dark Viper will waste immense time and energy on people who hate him. But in my case, someone close to him who he knows in the real world and who would actually be affected by his actions, he won't even bother spending 1 minute to let me know why he ceased a 6-year friendship. This is because Dark Viper is not a nice person in real life, in the real world. It is easy to seem moral when you live alone, have no family to support, have no relationship, and just argue philosophy with online trolls. but when faced with someone hurting directly in front of him, he cannot do the moral thing because he is an emotional toddler. What tickles me about that, him living alone, not having family, no one to support, not being in a relationship, is he is basically an incel who desperately needs a win. And his only way of getting what he thinks is a win is the moral high ground in arguing philosophy, which just means he's going to argue semantics and be remarkably pedantic with anyone. How tragic. It continues though. Nick Diorio replied, "My tweet is literally a long drawn out Wade post saying Dark Viper is extremely insecure and unable to disengage from drama. Even if people disagree in the nuance of why he DMCA'd Chud logic, it's an extremely reasonable opinion to hold given how poor his response has been. I'm not sure why this tweet needs to be disavowed, why he's acting like the tweet is slander, or why his audience is pretending it's misinformation. It's hardly even an argument." Carl Jobst, your tweet claims that DV hired a lawyer because Chud's criticism made him feel bad. I don't believe that's the reason he hired the lawyer. I think it was more to do with his opinion that Chud stole his content. That's entirely fair from Nick Diorio. If you think Dark Viper is telling the truth, and perfectly okay to clarify. That being said, I think my opinion is reasonable, and attached are a number of images that are relevant to this. Even if Dark Viper's direct contact with YouTube, he expressed fear that Chud would continue to make more content on him in the future. I have a hard time believing this is still about fair use, regarding an extremely short stream segment highlight from Dark Viper's channel. I don't believe it either because Dark Viper has openly said he'll just strike anyone anyway. Carl Jobst later tweeted, "I do believe I know why Dark Viper banned me, so I'll just say it and he can correct me if I'm wrong. At the end of February, I released a video which had a Starforge PC sponsor in it. Immediately after I released this video, Dark Viper banned me. Starforge is partially owned by Asmongold, who Dark Viper doesn't like because of reaction content. So Dark Viper banned me because I promoted Asmon's company. I had very recently spoken with Dark Viper on the phone before this, and we were friends right up until this video. It certainly has nothing to do with drama. DV's Reddit is dredging up from years ago. DV and I have even discussed this in person together. For my part, I'm getting sued and I have a family to support and consider, so there was no way I was going to turn down the financial security of this sponsored deal and a much needed PC upgrade. Naturally, Dark Viper didn't enter the equation when it came to accepting this deal. I think the pettiness of Dark Viper's actions is why he couldn't bring himself to tell me the reason." Carl retweeted this later by saying, "Dark Viper did email me after this. Yes, this is the reason. I will never hold it against someone for not wanting to be my friend or talk with me, nor should anyone else. I find this reason to be unhealthy and not a good thing, but it's not why I was upset. However, ending a friendship without giving the other person an explanation does make you a bad person. Dark Viper has made it clear he does not owe me or anyone else anything, and he will do as he pleases regardless of how it affects others. I'd advise those to be careful if they allow themselves to feel anything for him in the future." Reply from the confusing opinion, "He's a massive hypocrite and a giant baby. He's a terrible friend and person for what he did, especially with how he only responded to a thread about it on Reddit, not privately after hearing about it. It's absolutely ridiculous." A lot of people have had a lot of opinions on this, certainly within the commentary sphere. I'm going to read from one because I like calling him Chris the Nazi Nart. Dark Viper blocking and refusing to speak to Carl for apparently taking a sponsorship from Asmongold's company all because of React drama is the most pathetic thing I've ever heard. He does not care about copyright, he only cares if you believe in his delusions and will cut you off if you don't. Lolcow behaviour. He then talks about how Carl is being sued for petty reasons by Billy Mitchell, which is true, which is why he accepted the sponsorship. I would do the same in Carl's position to protect my family, and I'll be honest, I think most people would. Dark Viper is a very sad case of somebody who could have gone under the radar for longer had he not constantly done the exact same thing over and over again, getting into pointless arguments with people because he doesn't have a filter in his brain. He is perpetually online, and he would rather engage with those that disagree with him than engage with those that he has slightly wronged or have slightly wronged him, those that actually mattered in his life. He picks the haters so he can have a fight. For years now, Dark Viper's mouth has been writing a check. The receipt has been coming now for about a week, slightly longer now, because people have taken too much of a notice and gone, no, we're gonna flay you for this one, boy.
Let's do reverse courtesy lunges instead. I find something to hold on to, grab a step, and I grab the weight in my opposite hand. Now I'm only hinging and bending over. Bending over, isn't that what you make your money with?
I guess while we're in the ballpark of lolcows, we should of course insert the fact that I am now officially a part of the vaunted community of those blocked by just the tip. Thirsty, hungry tipster. I would be sad about this. but you're a colossal smeghead. You know you are as well. You've tanked your channel through your inaction. You've tanked it by choosing the wrong side of history and by allowing yourself to be a lolcow. I can't wait to see you on lolcow Live one day, trying desperately to compete with the likes of Wings. While we're in this ballpark, I noticed J.K. Rowling's been trending a lot of late. So has Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, because everyone's forgotten Rupert Grint exists. On JK's Twitter, she tweeted, "This is the bottom line of every single activist I've ever engaged with on this issue, but rarely have I seen it stated so honestly. Why can't you just believe it's so weird you care? Why make this complicated? Just accept the slogan." An image included, somebody had retweeted JK by saying, "That's a whole lot of words and quite frankly I'm not effing reading all that. I just wanted to say that it's weirder to do all this instead of just believing that trans women are women. Seriously, at this point, which sounds more insane to the average person?" I think the very first part of your message was. Underneath I noticed, "You're unable to view because the account owner limits who can view their posts." I don't know what they said, because Twitter doesn't archive properly anymore. But JK Rowling had retweeted them. When I went to look at the reply and find out who it was, I found out some unknown person called Victoria Smith has me blocked. Yay! 2 blocks in 1 week, everyone. I've earned it, alright?
And bending at my knee, so I keep my upper body straight with the 2 Cake City cues. Number 1, I'm squeezing a passion fruit underneath my arms. Squeeze! And 2, I brace my core by breathing into my stomach and imagining that I have to sneeze. Now what we're not gonna do is go straight up and down. We're not gonna do your 13.5 seconds of disappointing cowgirl.
I should quickly go back to Tipster for a second because somebody had taken the opportunity to do a Venn diagram, aptly demonstrating how Tipster uses Twitter. To be honest, it's a bit of a cycle because he does the sexual tweets, he does the groveling simping tweets, when he gets rejected he does the loser depressing tweets, and then he goes back to sexual after he's buried his head in the sand for a bit, or into the image of Keffel's overly done cleavage pictures. As you'll see though, some do intersect, which is quite amusing, and there is a bonus in the corner. It is done by the Unseen on Twitter, and to be honest, it is quite accurate.
Now just imagine that Wilhelm is behind you with his Blutwurst and he tells you, "Come here, Fraulein," and you're like, "Okay." Just for you to remember that $50 is not enough for that, or is it?
The final thing I want to talk about concerns Twitter and Brazil. Politically, it is an absolute mess right now, and is seen often by many as being a totalitarian regime muscling its way into absolute control. Via the Twitter X-Core Global Affairs Twitter account, they were forced by court decisions to block certain popular accounts in Brazil. We have informed those accounts that we have taken this action. We do not know the reason these blocking orders have been issued. We do not know which posts are alleged to violate the law. We are prohibited from saying which court or judge issued the order or on what grounds. We are prohibited from saying which accounts are impacted. We are threatened with daily fines if we fail to comply. The people of Brazil, regardless of their political beliefs, are entitled to freedom of speech, due process and transparency from their own authorities. Elon Musk, why are you doing this, Alexandre? Who is the judge that did this? The argument has been made in Brazil's fake news fighting top court that is what Alexandre de Moraes is doing. He is trying to deal with the fake news in Brazil. David Sachs. So Brazil's present is our future if Democrats achieve their dream of packing the Supreme Court, because Joe Biden announced the formation of a commission to study the court structure, which would possibly increase from 9 to 13 Supreme Court justices, along with their length of service. Elon Musk retweeted they want to stack the deck. Now, of course, that is a tangent, but it is relevant to the political sphere. My Twitter feed all week, if it hasn't been Dark Viper, has been about Brazil. So I'm going to go back to the "Why are you doing this, Alexandre" tweet with a reply from Michael Schellenberger. Brazil is on the verge of totalitarian dictatorship, with a retweet from himself with "Brazil is engaged in sweeping crackdown on free speech led by the Supreme Court Justice named Alexandre de Moraes. This person has thrown people in jail without trial for things they posted on social media, demanded the removal of users from social media platform, required the censorship of specific posts without giving users any right to appeal or even the right to see the evidence presented against them. This is quite damning information if true. They include, though, a bit of information as the thread goes on. Proof, in fact, to back up the claims, citing individuals that have fallen foul of these rulings. As a devout follower, subscriber, prescriber, believer in the free speech, I do not like how this looks. This has in turn led to many believing that Brazil needs Starlink, to circumvent these bans, I think VPNs is another option, of course. If you start to ban accounts because you decide to, you set a precedent where you can then just ban anyone for being different to your own, and that's not a good idea. It really isn't. It is a dangerous territory to traverse, and only sets you up for dictatorships, communism, I guess.
Don't forget to share with your flat-ass friend.